Hello everybody, we're going to be talking about a interesting team today in the sense that they are very much so underperforming, and that is the Anaheim Ducks. As you've probably heard by now, the phrase "the Ducks suck," and that is true at the moment, unfortunately, for Anaheim fans. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, if you're new to hockey, whatever the case may be. I'd love to have you here along the way as I try to do this as a career. Now let's talk about Anaheim, and this is a very, I'd say, frustrating team, because going from last season where they had a really good stretch in the first half of the year, looked like they were turning things around and then kind of fell off. That was frustrating, yes. But going into this season, people really felt like they were going to be on the right track to maybe not make the playoffs necessarily, but to possibly get into the wildcard hunt. And then, maybe they bow out with a few weeks to go, whatever the case may be. And as of right now, that is just simply not the case. They sit dead last in league standings, 6-17-3 through 26 games played. They have, 16 points, right? No, 15 points, and are on pace for 19 wins on the season. This, I haven't even looked it up because I was just thinking about this at work today. This has got to be like the worst Duck season ever if this is end up, kind of going how it's going. They're on a 6-game losing streak. And for Anaheim, I would say, I'm not trying to say panic just yet, but I will say with some of the guys that they have, we've talked for a while now about the Anaheim prospect system and how they've got some studs, because I do think they have some very exciting players. But we are seeing their young guys get considerable playing time, and not to say that this is all on them by any means necessarily, but we are seeing some of those guys that we really thought were going to be these studs, which some of them are, again, but they are playing, and the team's still losing. Not only they're losing, they are one of the worst teams in the league right now, and I guess you could really say, if you wanted, the worst team in the league if you look at current standings. And the Ducks are not that team that I expected them to be. Earlier in the year, I did make a bet with my buddy at work that the Canucks would finish higher than the Ducks in the standings. He thought the Canucks would be bad. I thought that the Canucks would be good, but the Ducks would be, average at best. But I did not expect them to be here. And for this team, you also worry just a little bit because you look at their division, the Pacific, and you notice teams like Vegas, they're really good. They are invested in the short-term future, so they're going to be a threat in recent years or in coming years. Seattle, another team that has been very good this year. They made a lot of smart moves this offseason. They have some very exciting prospects for the future, and Beniers, Wright, etc. They've made a lot of smart decisions when it comes to signing guys, but not killing themselves with contracts, bad contracts, not killing themselves, excuse me. But you know what I mean, where they've really shot themselves in the foot with a bad deal, like some other teams have. They've been able to avoid those really egregious contracts. The Los Angeles Kings, another team that is viewed as an up-and-coming team that has some prospects to be excited about. LA's better than them in the standings right now. You got to worry about that. The Edmonton Oilers, I mean, this is kind of where the problem comes to. McDavid's going to be there for a while. As long as he's not traded, Draisaitl's still there. They've got some guys. Calgary's invested in the short-term future. And outside of San Jose, really none of these teams are, focused on rebuilding. And Vancouver, of course, has been underachieving, but they are by no means saying that they're a rebuilding team. But yeah, Anaheim is at this spot right now where they've been focused on the future for a few years now, and I totally get that. They were a team that was kind of fading off. They're getting a little bit older, and then they decided that they wanted to rebuild, retool, whatever you want to say. But again, some of these guys, they've made their, they've come up to the league and they're playing well. Problem is, this team is still really bad. In fact, this is probably the worst shape that they've been in. I don't exactly know what's going to have to change here for the franchise. Maybe this is just a really bad start. Maybe, with the remaining 50-some games that they have left, they will go on a respectable run to get them out of the basement, the literal basement. They are underneath the basement. They are in the dirt underneath the basement right now, and they could, try to rally back from this. But as of right now, I would say that if Anaheim does continue on this run and then not get Bedard, you're really frustrated here, and you feel like you're kind of backed up in the corner. Do you get Mishkov? I don't know. Can he get out of Russia? That is a big question right now too. And this is why at work today I started to think, what exactly is Anaheim going to do if they continue to call up the remaining prospects? And I know they still have guys that will probably be called up, but they've got McTavish, they've got, obviously these younger guys. Troy Terry, of course, has had a breakout year last year, I think it was, and continued to tear it up. But again, what do you do when the cupboards are bare and you're still a bad team? Do you go for another rebuild? Because Anaheim is a team that really, for a good stretch there in the mid 2000s, really probably for 15, 20 years, was a team that expected not only to go to the playoffs, but to go on runs. Of course, they only won one Stanley Cup in that time, but they were in the thick of it. And I don't really think this fan base would like to see their team or their rival up in LA and them going on a potential another run for a cup. Meanwhile, they would be going on to another rebuild. I don't know, just food for thought. So for that is all I'm going to say here today. Am I shocked? Yes. And will I expect them to finish with the league's worst record? Probably not, but we will see. So who had Anaheim finishing worst in the league this year? Let me know down below in the comments if you did, and why. Of course, this team does have some stuff that they have to work on, but is this going to be a long-term problem or is this going to be short-term? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. I know if you're an Anaheim fan, you probably don't enjoy it, but it's worthy of talking about because of where they're at versus where they're expected to be. I think they're projected at 82 points or something like that. Anyway, everybody stay safe. Have a great night. Eagle of Hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.